At luxury, it's never just transactional. It is about the emotions that it generates. But I think that has taken on even another level.
Hello, my name is Renae Leith-Manos. Welcome to this podcast, Where to From Here, featuring conversations about luxury travel and how it's changing in every pocket of the globe.
Well, Geraldine, it's absolutely thrilling to speak to you from one of my favourite cities and a wonderful hotel brand, the Mandarin Oriental. Now, what was it that first inspired you to go into the world of luxury hotels?
Well, it really started off just going into hotels. Luxury is something that evolved and developed, but completely surprisingly, because it was absolutely nothing that I had thought about in my young years, but it was just because I started, I think I must have been around 15, and I wanted a summer job, and that's how it started, just working in a hotel locally in the west of Ireland where I grew up, and just got a summer job and really just loved the atmosphere and the buzz and the fact that it was just, occupied and meeting people. And it just really started from there. So that's how I got hooked on hotels and doing hotel school. And then obviously went on to international experience, work placements. And as I say, the rest is history.
And was going to Paris a dream of yours or even a thought of yours back then at 15 when you were first working in hotels?
Oh gosh, no, not at all. Not at all. I think where the idea of working internationally, I mean, being Irish, working abroad it's something that lots of people do. But I think going on the continent was all very exotic because, of course, it's a question of language. It really was, as the word, like, working in France and speaking French. And I think that came about because the choice of the studies I did, it really did involve 1 year, full year work placement in a French-speaking country. And actually I did it partially in France, but really in Switzerland. And that's how it's evolved. So I remember clearly having the discussion with my parents, and just the idea of that experience was just extremely exciting. And that's what clinched that choice of studies.
And how hard was it to learn French as an Irish woman?
Oh, terrible.
I'm thinking of the accent when I say that.
No, it was really hard because I think back then we studied school in French, obviously, but it really was, I remember and this is nothing against, the educational system. We didn't have access to internet. We didn't have access. It was just going to school and learning it in a classroom. And a lot of it was very much theory and written rather than speaking. And so I remember when I was setting off, buying train tickets to get to this little French town, even buying a train ticket in French at that ripe old age of, I must have been 18 or 19. And I was just thinking, my gosh, just dreadful. So it was very difficult, but then it's like everything, once you're immersed and you just have to go into it, and then you have to work. I mean, I remember when I started, I came back to Paris in 2003, working with Hilton hotels, and I hadn't spoken French in a long time. And it was just, getting back with a teacher, a tutor, doing your homework, practicing, and you can pick it up. So you can learn a language. It's not.
No, I totally agree. And you worked at one of my other favorite hotels in Paris, Le Barriere, Le Fouquet. It's such a unique property, right? There on the Champs-Élysées.
Absolutely. And completely made in France. So very Franco-Français, the magic and the charm of that hotel, the brasserie there, the famous restaurant. So
iconic. The restaurant's iconic. I mean, it really is.
Completely. It's an institution, it's part of Paris. I'm working on the Champs-Élysées, so that was really, that was amazing. That was an amazing experience.
Yeah, and I have to say, to be fair, the Champs-Élysées back when you were working there was quite a different Champs-Élysées to what we see now.
Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it really has sort of, I was only in Paris 2 weeks ago, and it has become so commercial and so different. And obviously, like all cities in the world, slightly affected by the pandemic in terms of the retail offerings. And so, but it's still Paris is still a wonderful city.
No, a wonderful city. And I think the Champs-Élysées, it will evolve. And I think that there's lots of things that they're doing in the city of Paris, that I think there will be a lot more pedestrianization. I think we will reduce the traffic in the city. And it still is this amazing avenue, one of the most famous and most beautiful avenues in the world. And so, we just need to, I think it will evolove,
Yeah, absolutely. Avenue Montaigne is one of the greatest, luxury shopping avenues in the world. And I wanted to ask you, how has Paris and France indeed maintained its title really as the luxury capital of the world? It's not just hotels, it's not just fashion and handbags, it's champagne, it's food, it's destinations. What do you make of it as a European woman living in Paris? How have they done this for so long and through, the recent dramas that we've all had globally?
First of all, I think a big part of it is, culture. There is a huge focus here on the city on culture. And even when you look at the luxury brands, there's a lot of that is very much supported. You look at the museums, all of the expositions that are coming out, even expositions that are coming out, not just art, but fashion as well. And I think it's all around this, this respect and the value that we place on everything to do with, crafts, tradesmen, all of these artisanal, as we say in French. I think there's real appreciation for that. And I think, you can talk about, the big brands and everything, but at the end of the day, it is all about focusing on the quality and the detail of, the stitching, of the choice of fabrics, of the workmanship that goes into everything. So I think that is put up on a pedestal everywhere, and you can find that in museums in terms of art. But then if you look at it in terms of food, I think, in terms of everything we're doing on the food scene, we're coming back to that. We're coming back to, I think, very much l'art de vivre à la française. And people just coming to Paris, there's an explosion of restaurants, the terraces, and all of that. Even when you see it on the Rue Saint-Honoré, we talk about the big avenues in Paris, but if you look at the Rue Saint-Honoré and what's happened here, is this small, quintessentially side street almost, that has become just the hub of all the fashion houses. Restaurant scene around there is amazing as well. So where you really feel like you're completely connected to what is true Parisian life.
And with the house and architecture there as well. It's just magical as a foreign woman walking down there, and I do it every time I'm in Paris. It's magnificent.
You're in the heart of everything. So I think that's where luxury has found its way of integrating the old and the new. So you've got that real mix and blend of everything going on. And this is just a very personal opinion, but I think we really do treasure, and there's this appreciation of what is old and what is, at the end of the day, everything that we do, be it in cooking, in making cocktails, or in terms of, haute couture fashion. It is about the details and, the choice of everything we do, be it the fabrics or the ingredients. And I think that's something we have to protect in France, because that is what you see when you come to Paris. And I think that's what our guests, our customers want to experience when they come.
It's the DNA. It's the DNA of France, really, isn't it, in essence?
Completely. And we have to protect that. And I think everything we do, any of us that work in luxury, be it hospitality or any other form of luxury, part of what we do is about protecting that. Not just, you can only promote it if you're really protecting it and if you're contributing to that. So I think that's a big part of what we have to do. So
explain to us about the Mandarin Oriental, and how the Mandarin Oriental in Paris is contributing to the luxury fabric of France.
I think, we have this real blend as well of, our Asian heritage, and there is a real, there we're talking about service. and we're all about the service and about how we behave, how we are, le savoir-être as well. And that's a big part of what we do. So I think a huge focus on our Asian heritage, on the values that come from there, that we blend in with Parisian and French art de vivre and that element of luxury. So that's a big part. We're also a palace that is, we are more modern, we are more contemporary, we do offer something else. And I think Paris is a destination where there is something for everyone.
Oh.
We've got such a range of luxury properties and such a choice for any tourist, any visitor, any traveler coming to Paris, that I think there is something for everyone. And we are another proposition, we are another offering,
yes,
with all of our personality and with the product and service that we offer. So I think it's everything that we see in Rue Saint-Honoré that has evolved. I think it's just very interesting that the Mandarin Oriental finds itself in the middle of that, on that address, on that
yes,
street, and where
yes,
we're part of that change that we have really witnessed since the opening of the hotel, even in this particular quartier, this address in the city.
No, absolutely. And you may not know that I've been based in Jakarta for the last 2 years. And I'm very fond of Asian culture and travel a lot in the Asian region. Do you find are a large percentage of your guests from the various Asian regions, because you're the Mandarin Oriental, essentially what is quintessentially traditionally an Asian branded hotel?
I think there's an element of reassurance, of maybe going to somewhere, it all depends on the maturity of the traveler, how much they've traveled. We've seen a lot of emerging markets as well. And so I think there is an element of, I know the Mandarin, I'm going to go there. I mean, it is pre-COVID, it would be up there in one of our top feeder markets. But we're still waiting for all of that to come back, because, just even at the beginning of this year, we're having China opening up as well. And I think by the time that they're really coming through, we haven't seen that come back to the pre-COVID level yet. But yes, there is an element that when I think the Chinese in particular, Southeast Asia as well, we can see that clientele really has started to come back, and we are getting our fair share of that, just because what we represent, what we stand for. And it's a little bit of, well, I want to discover the destination maybe for somebody that's discovering Paris, but I'll go somewhere where I feel that I'll be welcome, recognized, and valued actually as an Asian traveler. So having said that, we have a lot of Americans, we have a lot of Europeans, we have a lot of Middle East clientele as well that know the brand, and that again come maybe for another reason, because it's a different style, because of the location, but it's a different style of property, it's a different design, etc. So
yeah, well, I was just amazed. As I said, I was in Paris 2 weeks ago. It is booming, it's buzzing. All my favorite restaurants are full, and I was overwhelmed by the number of Americans. It seems that Americans have a pent-up excitement for travel, and they have plenty of money because of the exchange rate. Is that what you're seeing at Mandarin Oriental as well?
Yes, we have. We've seen a huge amount of Americans traveling since, really, I suppose they were the first ones, along with Europeans, because it's a closer destination. But I think the Americans were the first ones that really started to come back post-pandemic, and they are still coming back. So I think because it's a very important market for Paris, there is a very strong affiliation for France. And then with everything else that's going on, it's everything to do with, well, we had the Roland Garros final, the French Open going on, so that there's a huge attraction for that by the Americans, so they're there for that. Then we've had we have the air show going on at the moment, we have Fashion Week coming up. So honestly, and then with all the exhibitions and the food and beverage, it's always a good idea to come to Paris. Now, I say that without any arrogance, because
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
There are other destinations opening up, and there are other choices. But I think coming to Europe, and Paris being one of the capital cities within Europe. And I think we see that as well in London, we see it in Paris, we see it in Italy as well. And there are other destinations that are very much opening up. Greece is also very much a hotspot as well. So I think Europe is very attractive, and Paris, with everything that has to offer, is one of those. I think I've been there before, but I got to go back and
100%. Absolutely, absolutely. And tell me, how do you see the future of luxury hotels evolving? I mean, F&B, design, where do you see the big changes that we've got coming ahead?
Well, first of all, service. I think guests want to feel definitely true personalized service. Now, this is something we say and we say it, and we've been saying it for a long time, but I've noticed that guests want to prepare. We see definitely longer stays, a tendency and a passion of longer stays, less maybe city hopping from one to the other. They want to really appreciate the moment, take the time to savor, appreciate, and enjoy a destination. And for that, it has to be prepared. So a lot around the service of organizing their stay. It's not everybody comes to Paris for the same reason. Not everybody comes to Paris with this accompanied by the same person. It could be multi-generational, it could be mother-daughter, it could be leisure, as we say, a mixture of business and leisure. So it's about preparing and organizing that entire experience according to the guest. So I think personalized service is a big thing that we focus on. And I think.
And so do you have concierge or butlers? Do you have a butler service, or?
We have a butler service, and we also have concierge. We've had to increase even back office concierge. And we have two amazing ladies there that really take all of that information from the guest prior to their arrival, and we prepare itineraries for them. We prepare all of that for them.
So on that, I wanted to ask you, how has this evolved in the era of Google? I mean, obviously post-pandemic, we've kind of almost started again in a sense. Traditionally, the younger traveler especially would just rely on Google, but it sounds like that's not happening.
No, they might be informed of what's available when they're coming. So they might be informed of, well, I've heard about this exposition that's coming on. Here are some restaurants I'd like to try. What do you think? Can you organize it for us? So, and then what are other ideas do you have? This is what we're interested in. We have some time here. So they're definitely more informed, but they still want somebody to put that together for them. And they really do rely on our own expertise and our own recommendations, because we're here, we say, yes, that would be great. We also have another suggestion for you. And maybe something, not everything is on Google. There are also some off the beaten track. Off the beaten track, the little secrets of Paris. You might not have heard about this, but try it. It's great. It could be just a little bistro on the corner of the street. You'll go there. It'll be amazing. We know the owner. So I think this is where people want to have access to something that's not just available on the internet and that everybody can see. And that's what I would say in terms of luxury travel is what the luxury traveler is looking for. I think there's another element in terms of even just the relations that we have. I think we're going to go more and more towards, because there's so much information out there. And do we question, Is it all correct? We can question reviews and whatever. I think going back to this trust element and having somebody there that can actually guide them and reassure them, I think that's going to be a big, big part of it as well. And
can I just interrupt you there? I think we saw that, with the incident that happened with TripAdvisor. It's very well publicized now, where someone in the UK set up a fake restaurant. It made #1 and it sort of went viral. That was sort of when I think the average consumer realized, how much is perhaps fabricated on any review site that they see. And you can't necessarily trust, or certainly not 100%, what you're seeing.
No, I think, and this is where it comes down to, I'm talking to Geraldine, Jack, Paul, whoever, and this is somebody that's coming back to me, genuine sincerity, again, this trust. And when they come, I mean, we have so many comments from people that, I want to meet the person who was helping me, that maybe not out front, but in the back, and say, thank you for everything you did for me. And they want to see that person. So I think this human connection and this relationship is hugely important. And at the end of the day, yes, we sell a bedroom. Yes, we sell a stay in a hotel. But at the end of the day, what we're selling is an entire holistic experience and emotions and, memories. I mean, the power of that is just so important. And I think there is really, it's no longer, I mean, at luxury, it's never just transactional. It is about the emotions that it generates. But I think that has taken on even another level.
I was going to say that I've also seen that emotional security is part of that emotional journey now, because of what we've all been through. To go to a hotel, again, like you said, where you trust people, where they know you, where they remember that you like the fish or this or whatever it is, or particular things, or your children do, that's what's getting, a lot of return business for a lot of the luxury hotels in Paris.
Absolutely. And people just want to feel comfortable. And plus, we're all so, short on time. We're all so busy. Make it easy for me. And anything to make it easy and seamless, you're not going to look elsewhere almost, There are people that will try, but it's like, we try, but, they'll go for something where we know you. And I think, the repeat guest is huge. And even for a brand, talking between our sister properties and having that information about our guests because they stayed in Milan, or they're going to Lake Como, or they're a very well regular guest in Hong Kong, in our flagship in Hong Kong. All of that information, we want to keep it, and that way the guest, he feels known and feels recognized, and again, this trust, reassurance.
No, absolutely. And Geraldine, I wanted to ask you, you have been described to me by some of my insider contacts as a rising star of the luxury hospitality industry globally. Has it been tougher, do you think, for you as a woman to rise to, the incredible position that you're sitting in now there in Paris as general manager of the Mandarin Oriental Hotel?
Maybe, and I say this to all the male guys, all the guys out there that are listening to this as well, I think, females, there's a really great place for females in this business, just naturally of what we do. And I think, obviously, maybe, we had to work harder at the beginning to push through and show that actually we can do it. But I truly believe, and I was lucky enough to work with men, with gentlemen who really just wanted the results, So if the results are there and you can deliver the results, then I think that's what counts.
Yes.
So what I try to say as well to all the young females that are coming up through the ranks, whatever their personal situation is, look, at the end of the day, this is what we need, this is what we want, this is what we expect. We're here to accompany you, we're here to assist you. But at the end of the day, just being clear on that. And I was lucky enough, I guess, to work with, my bosses were always very, very good at that. Maybe though the girls did have to work back then a little bit harder to show that it's actually possible. But hopefully that's no longer the case, and that it's completely possible for young girls, young ladies, as it is for young gentlemen to rise up and take on the position as general manager.
Are there a lot of GMs that are female within the whole Mandarin Oriental group globally? Do you know? I don't know.
There are some. I'd have to count up. Oh, it must be 5 or 6 females, yes, that are.
Out of how many? Out of how many?
We are at 36 hotels at the moment. So
it's not that common. It's not that common.
No, we still have some work to do. What I think what we see.
1 in 7 is not that common. Let's be honest.
But I think we have a lot of, we do have in senior executive roles as well. It's not just in general management. And I think we have a lot of, we have some females at the executive level within hotels. And that's the real work that we have to do, is get them to move to that step of general manager. And we've seen, actually, we have seen progression on that. And I think it's very important. We see a lot. We have our program for management training, which is the Rising Fan, which is an international development program. And we have a lot of young females, young ladies there in that. So I think it's our job as leaders in the industry to show them, okay, and accompany them and say, this is possible.
Wonderful. Look, I've loved talking to you. I hope I get to meet you when I'm next in Paris.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I could talk to you a lot more, but unfortunately we haven't got the time today. But we ask all of our guests, Geraldine, where to from here? And you can talk about your day or the industry or anything you like, but we'd love to know what you're doing in Paris today.
Today, let me see what have I got in my diary. I am actually, but I do have a busy week. I've got lunch coming up with some colleagues within the sector. So we talk a lot about what's happening within the destination. I think that's hugely important as well, that we're working together. So yes, we're getting together, and that's very nice as well. We're in an industry where it's all about people. So even amongst competitors, I think it's very important that we unite, and we're working together as a body to promote the destination. And then I have some, we're already working on ideas for Christmas. So I've got a meeting with our pastry chef later on at the end of the day, and my hotel manager and food and beverage team. And we're going to be looking at ideas for the Christmas Yule log. So it's June. So we're already thinking ahead about Christmas, because you've got to get that all prepared, our communication and marketing plan prepared for that. So yes, even though we're busy in the mid of summer, we're thinking ahead for Christmas already.
Beautiful. I may even be there for Christmas. So I love Paris.
Then you can see what how that comes out, and I can show you about our Christmas Yule log.
Sounds absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's just been wonderful speaking to you, and you just have a wonderful, beautiful summer's day there in Paris.
You too. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for allowing me to talk about this wonderful, wonderful business.
Well, I hope to see the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Paris soon.
Thank you. Come by, see me.
Absolutely. Merci à vous. Merci à vous. Bonne soirée.
Don't forget to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for regular travel updates. You can also hear our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.